poor Margaret believed she was helping police track a scammer. Instead, the scammer was helping himself to the 91-year-old's life savings, almost $500,000.
A smooth operator.
Hello, Margaret. This is Andrew.
So I don't know what else I could say about him. Evil, anyway.
Margaret is describing the scammer who conned the 91-year-old widow out of her life savings. This must have taken a huge toll on you, Margaret.
It did. I thought my days were numbered, to be honest. So, no, it wasn't good. And I really haven't felt the same since.
Mum, I thought, would have been the last person to get scammed like this.
Brett is Margaret's son.
Large amounts, I can't
and in
believe.
total, how much money did the scammers manage to get?
From what I can gather, it's almost $500,000.
That's right. Poor Margaret handed over $500,000 in the space of 10 months. The fraudster told her his name was Andrew William and that he was working with the Australian Federal Police to uncover scammers operating inside our banks.
We can see someone is trying to access your accounts.
He told Margaret someone in her bank was trying to steal her cash and she should move all her money to another bank.
He said that people are losing all their money through the hackers and that some banks were better to deal with than others.
So from there, then somehow they convinced her to transfer it to them, who were supposed to be putting it into a safe account somewhere, so they could track the transfer of the money for the AFP to keep an eye on these hackers.
In the last month, we've had 4 cases that are very similar to Margaret.
David Lacey is from ID Care, a free support service for people who are victims of scammers.
Yeah, it's shocking. I mean, this is a scourge to our country, and for someone like Margaret, this is a life-changing event for her and obviously her family. It's just incredibly sad.
And perhaps the saddest part is the scammer convinced Margaret not to tell her family or friends, telling her it would jeopardise the police operation. So, believing she was doing the right thing, Margaret obeyed.
I felt very alone and actually really sick to the... I could hardly walk or speak or anything else. I was just beside myself.
I was quite angry that she's decided not to speak to anyone else about this money, and but then I understood that she's the victim here.
So it often starts with a premise that, Chris, you've got to keep this quiet. This is a covert operation. But in the event that the bank customer service officer asks you or a family member asks you, just tell them, you know, it's for purchasing a car or doing house renovations or some other kind of benign activity.
You know, this particular scam, which involves impersonating police, is really common and unfortunately on the rise.
Commander Chris Goldschmidt is Acting Assistant Commissioner for Cyber Command with the Federal Police.
The police, the AFP, will never call you and ask you to transfer money or send money anywhere out of your accounts.
You want money transferred?
Margaret says the scammer called her almost every day, giving her instructions on where to transfer money, sometimes within Australia, sometimes to people in Thailand. And because she's not online, she had to physically go to the bank every time.
It takes a bit of convincing to convince me of these things, because I look back now and I'm thinking, oh, how could I be so stupid and stuff? But
these people are hardened criminals who are targeting the most vulnerable in our community.
Ben Griffin is from the Bank of Queensland, which Margaret banked with for decades. Margaret says BOQ staff questioned her about the large withdrawals she was making.
Absolutely, we do our best to try and work with our customers to understand whether those transactions are legitimate, but we really do rely on our customers being open and transparent with us when we ask questions about the nature of those transactions.
she did sort of try and say, are you sure this isn't a scam? But after being threatened, I wasn't going to say, oh, I'm taking it because this could be a fraudulent bank.
Margaret finally realised it was a scam when she tried to withdraw money from one of her new accounts and there was nothing in it.
I often spoke to her about it and make sure that you don't answer the phone to anyone you don't know and engage in conversations, but it's happened.
It's really important that you do that early reporting, and that enables the financial institution and the police to attempt to recover your money and investigate that matter.
But sadly for Margaret, it may be too late. With her life savings gone, Brett says Margaret will have to sell her home to survive financially.
I built this house for my parents 28 years ago, so it looks like it's got to go.
And Margaret, just finally here, is there anything you'd say to this Andrew William if you could get him on the phone?
Probably put a bullet in him if I could. No, I don't know what I'd say to him either. What an evil creep you are.
So she thought she was doing the right thing and she could now lose her home. I think Margaret put it succinctly herself, didn't she? These scammers are evil.